Dukes and Bell. Something that appreciate Data. He's going to be basically engineering the show because we had a manpower issue between V103 and Star 94, but we're going to get it done today. Helping the fight against breast cancer, guys. Celebrating the survivors. It's Paint Gwinnett Pink. We're going to be at Gwinnett Hospital System Foundation, 1755 North Brown Road. That's off Sugarloaf. So again, I've got it up on my Twitter at Mike Bell ATL if you can't memorize what I just said. Folks will be picking up their packets for this big 5K that we've been a part of, Carl and I, for 10 years. It's called Paint Gwinnett Pink. Very special event. Abe, appreciate filling in for Carl today. So that's where we'll be. Got a big show today, man. Reaction to what Coach Raheem Morris had to say in our conversation yesterday, our exclusive conversation. Plus, getting ready for the Dogs and Ole Miss. Always fun when Barbara Dooley calls in. We'll get double Dooley. We got Barbara today at 4, and then she's going to join us at Grindhouse tomorrow in Athens as we get ready for the Rebs and the Dogs. And speaking of the Dogs, Mike Griffith always has strong opinions on what the Dogs are doing or not doing. Coming off that strange game and the win against Auburn. That's all coming up today. All right, first things first. Abe, what did you make of what Ra had to say yesterday? I think the only thing we had to critique of the game, special teams, and maybe those Michael Penix near picks in the second half.
Yeah, there was a throw here or there that Penix missed. I mean, a couple that, fell harmlessly, but if he connects, I mean, they're big plays there, one to Pitt, to Washington, whatever. The question for me, Mike, is just it's all about backing it up, right? Like we're all excited. The city's been on fire since Monday night. Like it's undeniable. You better back that up. And you're not walking into a cupcake. I mean, you can look at San Francisco, and I know they've struggled at times this year due to injuries and whatnot. They might be getting George Kittle back. They might be getting Ricky Pearsall back. They might be getting a $60 million quarterback back. And you're on the road in prime time again. Raheem's right. You got to fix some of those issues. You asked, do we have to be perfect against the Bills to win? I didn't think you had to be perfect, but you had to be good. I feel the same way. You don't have to be perfect to beat the Niners. You can't be bad, though. And so there are definitely issues to address and make sure that this actually is the start of something and not just a one-off.
Day and Oren, we know Shanahan. I can't quit you. Offensive genius, whatever the injury situation is, he always finds a way to make lemonade out of lemons. Robert Saleh is the guy that's got to do that because they lost one of their best defenders. Are you worried, guys, about the 49ers? Again, good luck trying to stop our run game, but don't you try to stop our run game if you're San Fran.
Yeah, man. I was thinking this morning that I kind of question if this is going to be just as big or even bigger of a test for this Falcons defense, honestly, because they did great last week. I mean, shame on the Bills. I felt like they didn't utilize James Cook as much as they probably could have. But again, to Abe's point, with some of these star guys coming back on the offense, this might be an even bigger test for this Falcons defense. I think offensively, they may be able to hold their own. I mean, look, the 49ers are going to be missing one of their best defensive players in Fred Warner. So I'm not as concerned about the offense this time around with the Falcons, as long as, take care of the ball, Penix, let's not make any bonehead throws. But defensively, I do question if they might be tested even more so this time around.
Oren?
We talked to a guy last night on Chris's show out there from San Fran, Kyle Madsen, and he talked about how he thinks that this might be the game where you see Bijan break an NFL record. He was very, very unoptimistic about the fact that San Francisco's defense right now is totally banged up. He said he would not be surprised if Bijan goes for 250 and 3 touchdowns. So I think looking at a San Fran right now, there is a level of we're getting some guys back on offense, but you can't understate that loss of Fred Warner to that defense. And I think on all 3 levels of that defense, the importance that he has for that team is going to be seen on Sunday. So like they said, I'm not as concerned about the offense defensively. I go back to that Thursday night game a couple weeks ago where Mac Jones threw for 300 and change against the Rams, and they got that win. And every single thing that Shanahan seemed to draw up that night seemed to be successful. And that's a Rams defense that was not very bad either. So they were coming in very healthy. They got playmakers on all 3 levels as well. So there's a worry and a concern that whether it's Mac Jones or whether it's Brock Purdy, it's Shanahan that's going to find a way to cook something up to where, hey, I might not have all my weapons at their 100% disposal, but I'm going to find a way to make sure that I have all of my weapons utilized the best way possible. And plus, too, with McCaffrey, like, you never know with McCaffrey, man. That guy is such a wild card in the backfield, catching the ball, running the football, too. So as long as McCaffrey's back there, that offense is still going to be pretty good in my book. But from an offensive standpoint, though, for the Falcons, I think this is a week possibly that you see a continuation of where it was last week with Buffalo, them being able to run the football successfully.
As we said, Abe, maybe it's time for Falcon fans to stop worrying about the other team and start saying, hey, how are you going to stop us? Because other than those Penix throws, and by the way, I just looked it up while you were talking, Big O, 18 players are on the 49ers injury report. That's insane. Now, again, they got to list everything through NFL rules, from probables to guys that are already out or on IR. But, yeah, you mentioned, man, Fred Warner's a big hit.
Hey, they got Juwan Jennings right now, who's playing with 5 broken ribs and a busted shoulder.
Hey, let's
playing
make it 6.
5 broken ribs.
Let's make it 6. Abe, what do you think, man? Stick to our game plan. Just make them stop us.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how teams kind of adjust to defending Bijan Robinson. I just, if I were an opposing coordinator, I think I have to live with Drake London killing me. I just can't let Bijan be the guy. And Oren's right. This is their first game without Fred Warner. He was lost late in that game a week ago. And so, there may be some miscommunications and some missed assignments there, defending running backs out of the backfield, if you're a linebacker or whatever. I just think I'm going to do everything I can. And we talk about this at sometimes. I'm going to have to live with Mike Penix and Kyle Pitts and Drake London and whoever else is the receiver. I'm going to put 8 in the box. I'm going to spread it wide defensively, make sure they can't bust anything to the outside using speed. You're going to have to beat me through the air. Michael Penix, I think, if challenged, can throw for 300, 350, 400 yards. I'm going to challenge him to do that. We can't let again, if I'm the opposing defensive coach, there's no way that we're losing to the Falcons with this guy throwing for 210, 212 yards. And so that's what I would challenge the Falcons offense to respond to.
I know that we'll see Michael Williams, former Georgia Bulldog. He had a thumb injury. He was limited in practice. He was a full participant apparently yesterday. So again, this is always a defense that seems to have playmakers. And sometimes the names, sometimes, as we said, just on offense. It's a well-coached, well-managed team. I think from John Lynch to Shanahan and Robert Saleh obviously didn't work out with the Jets. But, yeah, I'll be curious to see what kind of stuff Saleh, because he knows Ulbrich intimately. The coaching staffs know each other really well. So we'll see where that goes. The other side of this, and just get your comments, Abe, because we spoke about this at length yesterday. It's a thing maybe we need to address. If Darnell Mooney can ever get to 100% this year, WR2, wide receiver 2, is non-existent for this team. Casey Washington had a big block to break Bijan, but as we said yesterday, misses a wide-open 40-yard pass perfect pass day from our man Michael Penix Jr. What do you guys think, though? Is it a concern? Only Drake London, the only wide receiver that had catches. Nobody else had a catch on Monday night.
You're just not going to beat teams, Mike, with 2 players. With respect to Michael Penix, I'm talking about Bijan Robinson and Drake London. Like that's not a long-term sustainable offensive success plan. Those are 2 great players. Don't get me wrong. They can't be the only ones doing anything. And that's with respect to Tyler Algier running the ball too. You can kind of lump him in. It is a concern. I think you're a little bit patient in regards to, can Darnell Mooney get back and what do we get from him? You have some other guys, Sills and Nash and Crosby. There's no Crosby. But I think you get the point.
Getting to the point.
Someone has got to step up. If it's not going to be Mooney, you do need to look elsewhere, whether it's a free agency situation or a trade. You're just not going to win the rest of the season and in the playoffs with just Bijan and Drake. And you guys were right on the head yesterday, Mike Bell. It felt like we were trending somewhere with Kyle Pitts, and then you would have thought that yesterday or last week's game was an opportunity for him to continue to show that with no wide receiver 2 available, and he kind of got shut down for the most part. And so he's another guy that if he can step up, maybe that helps mask it. But it's not going to be London and Bijan every week, and you're going to win games that way.
Yeah, maybe this is going to be another case of, Zach Robinson really having to be creative against this 49ers defense. Again, this is a defense that's weakened, so maybe this is a week where WR2 is not as big of a concern. But I saw where a lot of people commented about, Mike, I think you even touched on this. What about Chris Blair, He showed some nice signs during training camp. Do we call his number? I mean, KC Washington, you can't really. I know, Mike, you were really, that him dropping the one that was right in his hands kind of sticks out. But I think overall he still has shown this season that he can kind of have his number called. Remember, what was it? Week 1, he had that really big catch. He took that big hit. And still managed to hold on to the ball. So he's shown that he can come up clutch when need be. But yeah, Zach Robinson's going to have to be creative. Abe, kind of going back to your point, if you are that 49ers defense, you go all in. You stop the run, make Michael Penix beat you over top.
Hey guys, this is Behind the Curtain. We tell you what's happening today on Dukes and Bell. We'll talk about Georgia and the hot seat getting real hot in the SEC in just a second. Oren, what about Kyle Pitts? I just feel like I get it. You didn't really have to lean into him on Monday night because everything else was working. But maybe San Fran, this is a game where Pitts becomes the secret sauce. But Zach got to call his number. It's like, to me, I just feel like we got a Ferrari. We're leaving it in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, we've talked about Warner a couple times already. And if you're missing a big chunk in that middle of that San Fran defense, maybe that's where Kyle is able to operate and get loose on Sunday night. And to your point, too, this maybe needs to be a game where Zach Robinson calls his number, schemes him to get open, whatever, more than the usual number of times they do it. So if San Fran has a concern, I guess, about what Bijan might do, I would be maybe as concerned about what that middle of the defense is going to open up possibly for. And if it does open up, if that's a place where Kyle Pitts can not only operate but have success doing so.
Hey guys, we'll be talking more about the Falcons on Friday, but today, guys, as we pivot and get ready for Georgia as well against South Carolina, Mike Griffith's going to join us. Barbara Dooley, her weekly visit, 2 Barbara Dooley visits this week. Again, Grindhouse tomorrow out in Athens. Going to be a lot of fun. Hey, wear a collared shirt. Look nice for the First Lady of Georgia football. But what about this South Carolina? I should say this Ole Miss game. We were talking yesterday. Neither team really has elite pass rush. Elite, as Kirby would say. I think it's like 17 sacks between the two. I think it's 9 and 8 between the Dogs and the Rebs. It seems like if Georgia does that typical slow start, is this a replica of the Tennessee game, but in Athens? Abe, what do you think? Georgia has better Jims and Joes, and they're able to get revenge for last year's win in Oxford for the Rebs?
Yeah, I mean, I think the wild card factor is Trinidad Chambliss, right? Like, you look at the Tennessee game, and Aguilar wasn't going to beat you with his legs. I think Trinidad Chambliss is a quarterback that can. You only got 1 sack against Jackson Arnold, but he didn't kill you with his legs a week ago either. And so I think that's probably a good sign that maybe you're more prepared. The thing I'm fascinated by now, and we see this as much in the NFL, I think it correlates down to college too. There's a book out on Trinidad Chambliss now, right? When he came in, no one really knew what to expect as he was taking over for Austin Simmons. You got 3, 4, 5 games of tape now, and I think you can get a real read on him. And I think it's up to the defense of the Georgia Bulldogs to get going. You could say they started slow. 10 points, whatever. I'd like to see them ramp it up quickly. The offense needs to follow suit. I just halftime adjustments are great. Comeback attempts are great. You're really counting on that week in, week out in the SEC. I wouldn't want to, especially not a team that's very well coached by Lane Kiffin. So I think this is a dangerous spot if they start slow.
Did it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback off of Abe. That's been my biggest concern all season with Georgia is the slow starts. And I just feel like at some point in time, it's going to bite them in the behind. And, Ole Miss is the type of team with Chambers that could be the one that, you just can't keep falling behind against some of these great teams. Now, granted, you got to give Georgia credit because even when they fall behind, the defense finds a way to buckle down, kind of stop things. But, you're going to have you can't keep going that route, especially it's not getting easier for Georgia down the stretch here.
Oren, you scared by this game or you figure Georgia's got it?
Worried, yeah. It's kind of funny you mentioned the pass rush because Ole Miss last year, they were demons in the pass rushing game. I think they led the SEC, and they were amongst the nation's leaders last year in sacks. Right. And we mentioned slow starts too. Funny you mentioned that because not only Georgia, but I think Ole Miss this year might have it's like 2 or 3 touchdowns they've scored in the first quarters of games this year. So if that game was a low-scoring game after one, I wouldn't be surprised. But this is a bit of a different Ole Miss team than we've seen before. with Jackson Dart, you had a lot of the overhead, kind of the deep passing game and whatnot. This is an Ole Miss team now that likes to kind of ground and pound. Like Juwan Lacey up front, got a few 100-yard games this season. So they are a bit more physical at the point of attack, it seems like, on the offensive end. And you got that catalyst right now in Trinidad Chambliss. I'm not – there is concern just because I don't want this to be the game where Ole Miss figures it out, where they figure out whatever they were having problems with in the first quarters of games or in the passing game. Like, I don't want Georgia's defense to have a slow start and the results of that mean that Ole Miss figures it out and you're looking at a team that scores 3 or 4 touchdowns in the first half of the football game. Like, I don't want a repeat of that first half with Bama in this. And that's the worry that I have that Lane figures it out.
The Auburn game, Abe, I mean, like I said, it's like that thing is its own unique, weird game. And I think if you're a Georgia fan, just don't chirp to Auburn fans, just take it and move on, because I still don't believe Georgia wins if it gets up 17-0. A lot of Georgia fans feel, no, they would have brought it back. I think Auburn, because we know Auburn's offense wasn't as good as Georgia's, but if it's 17-0, they got confidence, maybe they're rolling. Go ahead.
Well, I want to flip around this and ask you the question. What are you taking at that this number is still a touchdown and a half? I've been shocked all week that it was this large. I still can't believe it hasn't been bet down. Vegas is always on this, right? They always know something. Every time I look at a number and it's like, boy, I can't believe this is where that number is. Now, the last time that happened, it was South Florida a week ago, and they actually obliterated them on that Friday night that I told you about. I'm 1-0 in the picks, just so you guys know.
We need the help, man. Believe me, we need the help.
But what do you take from the line being 7.5 and not really moving from there?
I just think that's Vegas trying to suck people in because of that weird performance against Washington State, where Lane Kiffin literally admitted, yes, we were doing installs for Georgia the week of playing Washington State. He admitted it. That's why I love Lane. He's always forthcoming. He's even taking a shot at Kirby's weight. We'll talk more about that today with Barbara Dooley. And then finally, guys, again, this is behind the curtain today. We're going to be at Gwinnett getting some packets for the people that are going to be doing our big Pink Gwinnett Pink Walkathon. That's going to be at the Gwinnett Hospital Systems Foundation, 1755 North Brown Road in Lawrenceville. That's where we'll be today. Final story we're going to dive into, the hot seat for Billy Napier. Just saw what happened with Penn State. Teams are trying to get ahead of it, trying to get the elite, whoever those elite head coaches are, in the next hiring cycle. But now it's the money men. Day, it sure looks like Gator money men have told the president and everybody else, hey, Napier, he's better win out because we're done with this. We're going to start pulling money, and that means less going into your NIL and everything else. And that is the lifeblood of the Gator program like anybody else.
Yeah, I guess my question, and Abe, I know you're a big Florida fan. With this getting out there, like the way it is, should they just go ahead and make the move now? Because I mean, if you're Napier, I mean, like, what does this do for that locker room right now? Players understanding that, look, coach is probably out of here if we don't win, and even if they win, like, they literally would have to win out. To your point, Mike Bell, for him to save his job, and realistically, is that going to be the case? So, should they just go ahead and do it now? Now that this kind of report has gotten out there.
Well, the weird thing is, and to your point, Day, I mean, and I know you're heading into a bye week, and that would kind of be the time. This is a winnable game, is the other thing. Like, Mississippi State they're okay, they're good, but they're not some of the other behemoths in the SEC. This is a winnable game for Florida, and so we'll see how that plays out. Look, it's not unprecedented for coaches to be fired after a win. We've seen it happen before. Look. He's going to get fired. I don't know if it's Saturday night / Sunday morning. I don't know if it's after the Georgia game, whenever it is. I'm kind of with you, Day. Like, it's obviously going to happen. It's very clear that this year hasn't been the turnaround he needed it to be under DJ Lagway to save his job. I wouldn't have brought him back last year. They decided to ride whatever momentum there was, and obviously it hasn't been what it's needed to be. Look, I think the other question you're always asking yourself is, who do you plan on hiring? And I think that is what Florida has finally come to a much bigger conclusion on. I don't know.
I think, sorry to cut you off because we got to get the hell out of here. It's 20 minutes. We're over schedule. Sorry. Oren, hold that thought as well. All of a sudden, it's like Johnny Carson. I'm sorry. We'll talk to Joe Piscopo next week. No, man, look, we got to jet.
I didn't know we had a shot clock. My bad, Mike.
Day-Day's telling me 20 minutes. It's levity and brevity. It's levity and brevity. I think Lane Kiffin's going to have his pick of a number of jobs. Number one would be Florida. I think Lane Kiffin's the guy for that job. Guys, we'll be in Gwinnett. Day-Day's engineering. He's got to get his car to the shop. We have things to do. We have places to go. We'll see you today, man. And tune in at 92.9 The Game. And don't forget the Odyssey app. Thanks for watching Behind the Curtain.